Yo, what's good, Girl413 here back in the day, and today, guys, we are here for another hashtag Torbentuesday. For those of you guys unaware with what Torbentuesday is, the Tuesday before Playground Games does their update live stream and the Forza monthly live stream happens, they post an image of their office whiteboard. And on this office whiteboard is some clues that we can try and decipher to figure out what is going to be coming in the next series update. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is we're going to break down these clues and hopefully figure out what we can expect with the next update. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into it. So starting things off, let's go ahead and come down here to the monitors. So the first monitor we see on the left has a search box from the auction house. And what's curious about it is in the search box we have Locomotors, S1, and Rally Monsters. Now if you were to click search, there is no chance in hell that you're actually going to get a return, because there is no Rally Monster Locomotors. The only Locomotors car that we have is a 2014 Rally Fighter, which is an extreme off-roader. So what this is almost telling me is that maybe in the future, we're going to be seeing some kind of Locomotors vehicle that is a Rally Monster. The problem is though, what Rally Monster? Rally Monsters are about the Ford Focus RX and the Hoonigan Fiesta. And on my best knowledge, Locomotors does not have a car that can compete with that. Because the only vehicle that I know they have is the Rally Fighter, and then they did some 3D printed cars for some stunts, and that's about it. That is about it. So I have no idea what on earth this could be. Maybe it's going to be some kind of updated Rally Fighter that we can use later on. Who knows? But let's go ahead and move on into the center, where we see an image that we actually had last week. So this image is very famous. It's at a little shed or like a barn or something like that that's located here on the Forza Horizon 4 map. The reason why it's so famous is when you actually drive by it, there's a bunch of Horizon flagging, and it's very well nicely maintained. And in this shed, there's a bunch of stuff inside of it that looks like, you know, it's for repairing cars. There's a bunch of off-road wheels. It's very nice looking. It looks like there should be a Horizon story here. Plus as well, this is one of very few sheds in the game, and maybe the only one that you can't actually drive into that is open. So a lot of people have been very curious about what this is going to be, and it looks like finally this week we are going to get an update, because we not only see this image here on the monitor, but we actually see it up here at the very top of the board. The thing is though, is looking at this image on the board, it almost looks like the car that is in the background may not be the same Datsun that we see on the monitor. So I'm not sure if that's going to be another car that we're supposed to get from this championship or not championship, this Horizon story. I'm a little curious to see what we will see, but I think that Datsun may be a clue to something else that I'll get to here in a little bit. Finally, we come over here to the right monitor and we see a graph and a calculator. Don't really have any idea what this could be. It looks like that's some kind of line of best fit or a scatter plot. It's not necessarily the most straight. I have no idea what on earth that line's about. It's kind of bizarre. It's kind of bizarre. At first I thought it again was going towards this math challenge up here at the top, but the math challenge where you will make a graph for it, you know, it's a very linear graph. This is obviously not linear. So now let's go ahead and head up to the whiteboard, and the first thing that we see on the left side is a big long series of numbers, and the first one is going to be 518-860-531. If you actually go ahead and think about this for a second, what they are is their share codes. I thought originally that it was going to be something to do with this math challenge, so I was like adding and subtracting and multiplication and division. I was doing all kinds of things, but it actually has nothing to do with the math challenge. The math challenge is its own thing. They posted it a couple days ago to try and get like students involved in trying to learn about math a little bit more instead of, you know, just playing video games. They were actually asking, like, you know, hey, if you're a teacher, go ahead and email us and we'll send you this flyer for your class. So somebody though on the Forza forums nicely pointed out that these are most likely share codes, and when you look it up, they are indeed. 3 of them are for a Camaro versus Mustang, 2 of them are for a Subaru versus Mitsubishi, 3 of them are for Ferrari versus Lamborghini, and then 3 of them are David versus Goliath. So somebody thought that maybe these are going to be a code essentially for the fact that we maybe are going to get custom championships. Most likely, I don't think that's the case. What I think is most likely from this situation is that they are going ahead and giving us the seasonal community championships ahead of time, the different courses and routes for us to go ahead and use. Now, I will say, like, a couple of the races, they're not all the same car restrictions, but that could always change for the championship. Like, they might just use the route for the championship. But I think what they could be doing here is they could be giving us these routes ahead of time so that we can possibly learn them. Or it could just be a shout out like, hey, these people made really cool tracks, you should go ahead and check them out. So after that, we get over here to the math challenge, which I was just saying has really nothing to do with the game itself. It's more of just something that they put up there to kind of remind people like, hey, we made this. If you guys want it, go ahead and hit us up. But then we come to the red numbers that are just on top. And this is where all the information that you guys really want to know about is contained. Because the first set of numbers is 8488 1103. Somebody very nicely over on the Forza forums posted that this most likely is actually the engine specs for the Bugatti Divo, as it is an 8-liter, 488 cubic inch, 1,103 kilowatts of power. We know the Bugatti Divo is coming into the game because earlier this week, over on Twitter, Forza actually posted the thumbnail for the Forza Monthly Show. And in that thumbnail, it showed a Bugatti Divo wheel. I actually didn't notice it until somebody pointed it out to me, and I went, oh my god, we're finally getting the Divo! Everybody's been asking for the Divo for a long time. It's finally coming. This is awesome. I can't wait to drive that thing. That is going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Although at the same time, it's going to probably be like driving a Bugatti Chiron for the most part. It's going to be extremely powerful. It's going to go very, very fast in a straight line. But as soon as you hit one of those corners, it's still a big boy. So it's probably not going to hit those corners very nicely. So what this leads us to believe is now that we know that the first one is Bugatti Divo, what are the next three? So we have a 3-liter, 181 cubic inch, 379 kilowatts of power, a 4.4, 292 cubic inch, 593 kilowatts of power, and a 4-liter, 269 cubic inch, 331 kilowatts of power. The problem is the bottom two. What should happen is the liter and the cubic inch displacement should be equal. Not that it's going to actually like be equal in numbers, but 292 cubic inches is actually 4.8 liters, and 269 cubic inches is actually 4 liters. So we're going to have to get to that here in just a little bit as we go ahead and talk about what those cars are going to be. So starting things off, we have our second car. Since we already know the first one is the Divo, the second car is a 3-liter, 181 cubic inch with 379 kilowatts of power. Converting that to horsepower, we get approximately 508 horsepower, which when I googled cars with 508 horsepower, the first result was actually a Peugeot 508, which is not the case. However though, there is another car which I actually think would be very, very cool if we actually see this, and that is the Volvo S60 Pulsar T6 all-wheel drive concept. So there is already a Volvo T6 all-wheel drive S60, and then they did the Polestar concept. Well, the original Volvo is kind of low on power. It's got like 300 horsepower, which still is not that low, especially for a Volvo. That's actually pretty damn good. But this concept takes it all the way up to 508 horsepower with just a 3-liter displacement. That's pretty dope. Granted though, it is a concept car. We don't normally see a whole lot of concept cars in Forza, but the fact is though, we could see a Volvo S60 Polestar. That is quite possible, but normally that's got like 300 horsepower, but this could be in reference to that car. Or we could see the concept. We could get it. We've got concepts in the past. Like we got the IDX and Nismo concept. That was a very interesting car. The Nissan Titan concept we also got. But there is another car that has been in previous Forza games that really seems to be the fan favorite, as everybody over on the Forza forums, on the Discord, and even a couple videos that I watched on this subject, you know, everyone else was saying that it's going to be the Rossi Q1, because as well, that fits directly into the description, and it's been in Forza in the past. We had the Rossi Q1 back in Motorsport 3 and Motorsport 4, and as you guys may be aware, a lot of those cars have been making their way back into Forza through Forza Horizon 4. So, with the Rossi Q1 though, back then, it actually was only like 400 some odd horsepower, but since then they've actually given it a little bit more power over time. That way, it now has a 3-liter engine with that 508 horsepower. So now the Rossi Q1 actually fits our description perfectly. But also we have the Volvo T60 all-wheel drive S60 Polestar concept, which is a mouthful to say, that also fits our description. So really, in my opinion, it's going to be one of those two. It leans towards the Rossian, but personally, I kind of lean towards the Volvo. I think that would be such a cool car to actually have in the game. The wheels on it too are freaking amazing. I saw one of these in real life one time in that nice blue color. Oh, it's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. So then we move on into our third car, which is a 4.4 liter 292 cubic inch, which makes absolutely zero sense. So really what we should be seeing is a 4.8 liter 292 cubic inch with 593 kilowatts of power, which is approximately somewhere between 795 horsepower and 806 horsepower. So when you Google cars with 806 horsepower, you actually get some very interesting results. The first ones that I was actually seeing was like the Dodge Demon Red Eye, but I don't think that is going to be the case at all. In fact, actually, this car is very, very obvious, I think. And what it's going to be is it's going to be the Koenigsegg CCR. It's going to be this car because it's most likely the easiest choice out there. We have the CCX, we have the CC8S, we have the Agera. The only car in the Koenigsegg lineup that we're missing right now is the CCR or the CCXR. And really, the XR is just a race car version of the CCX. So the CCR is up next, I guess. So that's really what it's going to be. It's got 806 horsepower. The kilowatts match up perfectly. It's got a 4.8 liter engine. Actually, it's a 4.7 to 4.8 liter. They don't actually have it nailed down, so that's kind of funky, but whatever. What can you do about it? So I think it's most likely going to be the CCXR, or not the CCXR, the CCR. But there is another car that did come up on my list that would be very, very interesting to see, and I think that this one has a less than 1% chance of coming into the game, but I would much rather have it than the CCR, and that is the Novatec Stage 2 McLaren 720S. Because this car, although not a 4.4 liter, just a 4 liter, which would be the next one down, has 806 horsepower from a 4 liter engine. So it doesn't really match up perfectly, but if you kind of take that 4.4 and flip it with the 4 down below, and you ignore the cubic inches, it somehow works. Odds are this is not the car, and there's a less than 1% chance, like I said, because the odds of Forza putting in a Novatec car, I think, are almost less than 0. But still, it would be dope. It would be a dope car to actually see come to the game. Then finally we come to our final car, which is a 4 liter 269 cubic inch, which again makes no sense, with 331 kilowatts power, which is approximately 444 horsepower. There's one motor out there that fits this absolutely perfectly, and that's the BMW N63 engine, which is a V8 motor that's used in mostly non-M production vehicles. It's usually used in things like the X6, the X5, the 550i, the 650i, and the 750i. As well, it's also used in the M550. So there's a couple of different vehicles out there that this could possibly be just off the N63 engine. However though, the N63 also gets twin turbos, which kind of throws our kilowatts of power out the door, as that takes it up to like 500 plus horsepower. And with that, it opens the door up to a whole bunch of other cars though, if maybe this final line here was just to reference the N63 engine. And if that's the case, this opens up to like things like the X5M, the X6M, the M5, the M6 Grand Coupe. You have all the competition variants of those cars. There's a whole bunch of different things that we can actually see with the S63 engine. But the one car that I would really like to see with it is the Wiseman GT. So for those of you guys unfamiliar with the Wiseman GT, this car has been in previous Forzas. It was back in Forza Motorsport 4, and I can actually very clearly remember this car because I had to drive it around the Nürburgring GP track for a community bounty hunter challenge, and you were supposed to beat Johnny Wanna. If you beat Johnny Wanna, you got a rare unicorn car, which the unicorn cars back in the day used to be rare. Like, they are not like they are today. I will say that. There were like 3 cars, and if you had one, you were the hot shit. But anyway, Johnny Wanna set this time of whatever it takes to get around the GP circuit, 4.11.1. And the thing is, though, is I kept getting 11.3. And I could not beat him. And finally, I just caved. I went to bed. The next morning, the event was over. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to try until I can set that lap time. My second lap around, I set a 10.5. And I was just so mad at myself because I worked so hard to try and get that time. And I could have done it, but I didn't do it on time. And that sucked. It hurt so much. But if we could get the Wiseman GT, I think that would be an absolute beast of a car, and I would love to see it come back. You know, if we got the Rossi and Q1 and the Wiseman GT, that would be so dope. That is 2 Motorsport 4 cars coming in with one update. However, though, the consensus appears to be that this car is actually going to be the BMW M3 GTS. And the reason behind that is because the BMW M3 GTS fits that 269 cubic inches and that 331 kilowatts of power. The other thing is, though, is that originally it was a 4-liter engine, but in order to give it a little bit more power, BMW boarded out to a 4.4-liter engine. Because we haven't really mentioned that 4.4 yet up there, but now that we have, you know, it kind of makes a little bit of sense there that we have this 4.4-liter with a 269 cubic inches and 331 kilowatts of power. That would be the BMW M3 GTS. That is a very good possibility right there. But then if you were to just take that 4.4 and switch it down there to the 4, and then you got rid of the 292, that would make the Novatec McLaren make more sense. But I think that 292 is to stay, and the 4.4 is supposed to be down there on the bottom. It's a little bit confusing here, but it all makes sense. It all kind of makes sense. And those are the 4 cars that we're going to be getting in this next update. So now that we've taken a look at the cars, let's go ahead and take a look at this weird calendar thing down here. So what we actually see is we see approximately 2 weeks worth of the next series. And the first week is all circled in red. Then we have a couple days circled in blue, followed by mostly orange. Now, what I'm almost gaining from this is maybe what Forza and Playground Games is planning on doing is instead of these 4-week seasons that or 4-week series that we normally have with 1 week each season, I know a lot of people kind of get mad with winter being so long. Like, a lot of people don't like winter for some reason. So what they may be doing is that from the 24th through the 30th is going to be summer. Then from the 31st to maybe the 2nd is going to be winter. And then from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, that's going to be spring. And then after that, you maybe have the next week of autumn, so on and so forth. But that's kind of weird. It almost looks like maybe what they were trying to do here as well is 1 week of summer, 2 days of winter, 1 day of spring, and the rest of it being autumn. So who knows what this will actually be? That's just my guess right there, is maybe they're going to shorten winter down a little bit so that you don't have to do it as much. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion. Who knows what we'll actually see from this? But then we also see like a weird kind of like line drawing below it. We have 31, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And down here, we see on the first line that on the left side it says Barney A, and on the right side it says Barney B. So this could possibly be in reference to the fact that we might be getting new barn finds, and that barn find A is going to be available from, like, say, I believe the 29th through the 1st, or maybe it's going to be available from the 24th through the 1st, and then that would essentially be the first half of the series. Then, after that, we're going to have the Barn Find B for the second half of the series. So that is quite possible what that's going to be. Then we move down below and we see W/C. Most likely this is supposed to be a week continuation, as we see it stop at the 31st, which would be a new change in season. And from there on, it just continues. You know, most likely what that is, that's most likely your festival playlist. Then finally we come down to the last thing, and it says Shop. Now, in Shop, we have a couple of different stops. So on the 31st, we have the main stop, which would be the Forza Launch Shop right there. But then we have another one-day only event here from the 31st and the 1st. So maybe there's going to be a one-day special in the Forza Launch Shop that is going to be from the 31st to the 1st, and that's the only day that you're going to be able to get this. And then from the 1st through the 3rd, we have another one of those. So I'm kind of curious to see what we'll actually end up seeing from that. It kind of looks like there's going to be a couple days of maybe a Forza Launch Shop exclusive. and that would be something that we've never seen in this game before, and I'd be curious to see how that'll actually work out. So finally we come up to the top, where we have that picture of what's possibly going to be our next Horizon story. And above that we have 3 numbers. We have 36, 80, and 10. So what I'm actually kind of thinking right here is the 36 and 80 are actually the reference to the years of the barn finds. So what that's going to be is if we look at 36 and maybe we think, what about that Datsun that we saw back on the screen, right? Well, what that could be a representative of is that could be a representative of the Datsun Type 15, which was around in 1936. So that would be kind of an interesting car to see. You know, it's a classic Japanese, you know, car. We don't really have anything like that in this game, so it would be very interesting to see if we'll actually end up getting it that way. Then for 1980, if you add up all the numbers, you have 36, 80, and 10, which equals 126. Well, I typed in 126 car, and the result was a Fiat 126, which was a little compact car that was available back in the 1980s, and I think that would be kind of a dope little barn find. I think it really would. It's kind of adorable. It really and truly is. I mean, just look at the thing. It's so cute. It's so cute. And then finally we have 2010 right here, which is probably going to be in reference to the fact that maybe with our new Horizon story we'll get like a new car, and that car will be a 2010 model. What model year it's actually, or what car it's actually going to be, I have no idea. Who knows? Maybe it could be one of those cars that we actually listed off, although Bugatti Divo is out. What were the other ones that we had? The Volvo T60 is out. The Rossian Q1 could be in. The Koenig CCR would be out. And I think actually the BMW M3 GTS might actually be in. I think it was mostly a 2011 model. So I'm not entirely sure there. But yeah, I think that's everything that we're going to see on this whiteboard. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you guys think about this update. So anyway though, that's where we're going to wrap things up for today. If you guys want to, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at twitter.com/Gert413 and Instagram.com/Gert413. And if you guys like this video, go make sure to hit that like button down below for us, because you guys already know your support is so greatly appreciated. And make sure to subscribe, more videos coming out all the time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.